I'd like to start off by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people from the Kulin Nation, or any wherever you are, whichever, and pay respects to our elders, past and present, wherever you are in Australia. So in Melbourne, it's Wurundjeri, but obviously in Perth and in wherever you're from, there's different nations. So I'd like to start off by acknowledging them, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inherits the land whom he wills, and we can't really be mindful of, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's presence if we don't acknowledge the true inheritors of the land. Would you like to take it away, Nicole?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to this session. It's a real privilege. I will just get started. I think that I am co-host, so I can share my screen. So let me just set that up first. Make sure we're good to go. Oops. Okay, can you see my screen? Zainab, can you see my screen or no?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, so before we get started, just say a really conscious Bismillah. Sometimes we rush through saying the name of Allah. So just to start, Bismillah. And today I'm here to talk to you about trusting Allah's plan and the power of Tawakkul. So creating and living a God-conscious and spiritually aligned life, which is so critical with everything that we're going through today globally. It's critical every time, but right now I think we all really feel it. And so this is why I was so wanted to present this topic to you. So just a bit about me, first of all. So thank you for that beautiful introduction. My name is Nicole Hekma. I'm the CEO and founder of the Muslim Women's Leadership Academy. So I've been working for the last 30 odd years in banking and finance, internationally in consulting and banking. I've had a great career, but now I'm dedicated to helping other professional Muslim women and entrepreneurs. And what I'm really most interested in is helping people to live aligned with their values and beliefs and with the deen. So I found in my career that often I had to leave my Islam at the door and then work throughout the day and then pick it up on the way out. And I feel like that was a really it just jarred with me that I had to act in that way to be successful in my career. And so that isn't what I want. And so the Muslim Women's Leadership Academy has been created so that we can bring our full selves and be authentic, powerful Muslim women in whatever way we choose to be. Okay, oops. All right. So before we start, I just want to ask you a question, and I can't actually see the chat, but maybe I just wanted to, let me see if I can get that this again. Okay. How many people have actually ever set goals? If you just want to like raise your hands or put in the chat. Yeah? Yeah, most of us have set goals at some stage. So how many people, sorry, how many people here have ever achieved those goals? Yeah? Often we set those goals and we set a plan and we set out and we achieve them. But how many people have ever set a goal that seemed just overwhelming or completely unachievable? Yeah, that's kind of like not so great, right? It doesn't feel quite so good. And how many people have ever had something happen just going through life normally when they were so overwhelmed by life events that they couldn't even think about goals or even think about anything? That's me. And the reason why I bring this up is because I think that that's where a lot of us found ourselves last October. So I don't know about you, but I'm kind of used to feeling like I'm in control of my own destiny. And I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of everything, but I guess I didn't really know that in a way, because I was used to setting my own goals, taking control of my own actions and responsibilities. And even when things went bad, going, that's okay, I've got this. What happened in October and since October was just a feeling of utter and complete hopelessness and helplessness. Like there was absolutely nothing I could do. And I went to protests and I posted online and I screamed and I cried and I watched my Instagram and Al Jazeera 24/7, and I still couldn't do anything at all. Couldn't do anything at all. And then thought to myself, oops, but maybe that was actually the whole point. Maybe despite telling myself that I knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was in control, that wasn't actually true. Maybe at some point I really still believed that I was in control. But maybe this time I had to realize that that wasn't the case. That despite everything that I'd achieved in my life and all the things that I'd done and the goals that I'd set and achieved, that I actually wasn't in control. And that the only real control is with Allah, Azza wa Jal. And I wanted to know what was my place within that, because if Allah was in control, what was I supposed to do in this scenario? So, oops, sorry. So I realized that there must be a reason for me being where I am at this time in this place, and that is actually part of Allah's plan. So what is my point? What is my place? What is the point of me? And the truth is that I don't know, but I was determined to take action towards whatever that is. So the first thing was to think about what was my intention, my niyyah. What was I supposed to do? What did I want to achieve in this life? And I don't know if anyone knows Simon Sinek. Start with why.
Yes.
But I realized that actually wasn't what I was even talking about. Because some things, like if you talk about why, and if I say my why is my kids, and I want to be a good mum, and I want to do everything I can to raise my kids in the right way. What happens when my kids are raised? Where does that leave me? So what's above that? And I talked before about my career in banking consulting, and I was in risk management. And one of the things that we do then is we say, you keep asking why, until you get to where there's no more. Can everyone just go on mute? There's just some background noise. Until you get to the final why. And in this case, my final why was very simple: to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And intentions are so absolutely important to us. And I just wanted to read out a hadith. It's a bit long, but hopefully bear with me. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, verily the first people who will be judged on the day of resurrection will be three. A man who was martyred. He will be brought forward and Allah will remind him of his blessings, and the man will acknowledge them. Allah will say, and what did you do with them? The man will say, I fought for your sake until I was martyred. Allah will say, you have lied. Rather you fought so that it would be said that you were brave. And it was said, and then he will be ordered to be dragged on his face and thrown into hell. And a man who studied religious knowledge and taught it and recited the Quran, he will be brought forward and Allah will remind him of his blessings, and the man will acknowledge them. Allah will say, and what did you do with them? The man will say, I learned knowledge and taught it, and I recited the Quran for your sake. Allah will say, you have lied. Rather, you have learned so that it will be said that you were knowledgeable, and you recited the Quran so that it will be said that you were a reciter. And it was said. And then he will be ordered to be dragged on his face and thrown into hell. And a man whom Allah enriched and to whom he gave all kinds of wealth, he would be brought forward and Allah will remind him of his blessings and the man will acknowledge them and Allah will say, and what did you do with them? The man will say, I did not leave any path untrodden in which you like money to be spent, but I spent it for your sake. And Allah will say, you have lied. Rather, you did it so that it will be said that you were generous, and it was said. And then he will be ordered to dragged on his face and thrown into hell. This is a Sahih Muslim hadith. So why do I raise this? Is because intention is so important, and making sure that we have the true intention is such, it's just the foundation of what we do. The Sahaba knew this, and they used to look for intention, not in just the big things, but in every single thing that they did. And they also regularly reviewed what was their intention to make sure that it remained pure. So for me, at this point, and with what was going on in Gaza, it was very clear to me. I wanted to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I wanted to know my place. I wanted to be the best that I could. And I wanted to know what goals did I have to do. So I set goals that were aligned and what actions did I need to take. So to start with, we set what is called what I call a high himma intention. I got this, if anyone knows Muhammad Faris from The Productive Muslim, he talks about high himma intention. And what the high himma intention is, it's a lofty, aspirational or noble intention. It's something that we do not just for ourselves, for the ummah. And we have ihsan in this, so excellent in faith, actions and character, with the aim of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's really important that we have that overarching intention that helps us to guide through our lives. Hang on. So I just wanted to say there as well, like, and how to know whether your intention is actually, if that is your intention. And I've just got a bit of a trigger warning here, but it's if you're driving somewhere and you find that there's a tree and it's fallen over and traffic has come to a standstill, what would you do? Well, it depends on where you're going, right? But you might turn around or go home or just wait until the traffic clears. But what about if you have someone who's terribly injured in the back of the car? And if you don't get to a hospital immediately, you don't know what's going to happen, but it could be severe. What will you do now to get through? Will you find another route? Will you try to drive through, speak to emergency responders to get their assistance? Anything, right? So your niyyah is what will get you through when obstacles appear in your path. It's got to be something that is so strong to you and that you're so connected with that it's actually going to pull you through those times. Okay, so when we set goals, what do? The first thing we do is we keep our high himma intention in mind. What we also do is we aim high. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us in the perfect form and he put us right here, right now. Other people are going through unimaginable things, but we are right here. Don't aim low. Like what is your potential? What is possible for you to achieve? Your goals should be high enough that you feel a little bit uneasy and you don't need to know how you're going to achieve them. That is with Allah. Just think about what you want to do. And you can have a mixture of goals for the dunya and the akhirah. We're told in the Quran, "O Lord, give us in this world that which is good and in the hereafter that which is good and protect us from the punishment of the hellfire." So wanting good in this world, some people feel like wanting things, material things in this world is like we're doing the wrong thing. But actually, as long as our intention is right and we're doing it for the right reason, having good things in this world is still okay. And I wanted to use an example here. I've got a picture here of a girl who's in boxing gear and my daughter is actually a kickboxer. Apparently I'm not meant to talk about my daughter. My daughter is a kickboxer and it was her dream to go to the World Championships. And she actually she made it to the Oceania Championships, and after the Oceania Championships, she won a gold medal, and she was actually named as a member of the Australian team, and she actually went and competed in Portugal last year. where she ended up making the quarterfinals. And she had set that goal years before, and she had worked hard before it. And I'm mentioning her now because I'm going to mention later a little bit more about her story. Okay, actions are by intentions, and every man shall have only that which he intended. Every day when we wake up, we have a choice as to what we're going to do, to work towards the things we've set down to say that we want to do. Some days we wake up and we don't feel like we really want to do much. We might be sick, we might be tired, we might just have nothing left in the tank. But when we have that intention, and this is why before I mentioned the person in the car and the tree that had fallen over, when our intention, when our niyyah, when our overall objective is enough, we will make sure that we take every step that we can. And on some days, that may only be one thing. Some days, whatever has happened to us or what mood we're in or how we're feeling, we might not be able to do things. Some days we might get out of bed and we'll tick 35 things off the to-do list. And other days we might think, I really don't think I can do very much today. But if you just look at your intention and take one step towards that, you're telling your mind, I have the capability to do this. And if you do it when times are hard, it's even better to your brain. Like you're giving your brain a message that you're fine to keep continuing doing anything, things. Oops, gone the wrong way. Okay, so often when we set out to do things, things come up, we set a goal and then things come up and it doesn't seem to go our way at all. And I can be flippant about these and say, oh, you just keep working through your obstacles. But the thing is that things can be really major. So, for example, it could be a relationship breakdown. It could be a loss of employment and a loss of identity that goes with those two things. It could be financial difficulties. It could be global events like we saw or that we're still seeing that are happening as well. But I just talked to you before about my daughter, Sarah. And what happened with her was that, yes, she won at the Oceania Championships. But even though it was called the Oceania Championships, hardly anyone showed up. In fact, the only other person there that she had to fight was somebody for her own club. So she was still named in the team because she was actually the champion. But her coach said to her, I don't think you're good enough. I don't think you should go. And she was absolutely heartbroken. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know if she should go. She had no idea. So we sat down and we talked about it. And even her mind, after her coach told her he didn't think that she was ready, she was just not in a good place. So we got her a mindset coach. She joined another club that she trained with as well as where she was training. And she also got somebody within a gym to give her like a specialized program to help her with power and speed and strength. Her coach even dropped out. He said he wasn't going to go as her coach because he didn't think that she would be good enough. But she continued to train really hard. I have to say that like that girl, my girl, I was so proud of her, mashallah, because she just put everything into it. And she went to Portugal. In the division that she was in, she progressed, or the fighting type, there's different fighting types, but in the fighting type that she was in, she made, out of all the Australian teams, she progressed the most, and she ended up making the quarterfinals and is now ranked 5th in the world. Why am I telling you this? Yes, I'm a very proud mum, and that's part of it, of course. But what I'm saying is, would she have actually made it if her coach had not told her that she wasn't good enough? Would she have actually made it if he actually dropped out of the race and said he wasn't going to go because he thought that she was going to embarrass him? Because those things were put in her place, in her way, she worked so hard to get around them. Would she have worked so hard if he had just said, yeah, that's great, we're going? I don't know. But what I know is that we sometimes can join the dots backwards. If we look at things that we achieve now or where we are now, sometimes we can say, this only happened to me, this good place where I am now, this only happened to me because of those bad things that happened in the past, that they actually guided me in a certain way. They gave me strength. They gave me resilience. They taught me lessons. They pushed me in a new direction where I learnt new things. Good obstacles and going wrong are part of the plan. Remember that Musa alayhi salam was placed in the river by his mum, that led to him being raised in the house of the Pharaoh and then being able to lead his people out of Egypt. Yusuf alayhi salam was thrown in a well, falsely accused, thrown into prison. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an orphan, rejected by those close to him, and went through so many trials throughout his life. But these were all necessary to their journeys, and the things we go through are necessary for us. So I've talked about intention, I've talked about goals, I've talked about actions, and these are all pretty standard if you go to any personal development kind of training or tell you what you can do, whether it be at work or home or anything. But dua is the weapon of the believer. So when we look at dua with relation to our goals, first of all, we want to be exceptionally clear on what they are. And this is for you. Some people say to me, oh, why do I have to be, so clear? Allah knows what I want. Yeah, but do you know what you want? Because how are you going to know what it is that you're trying to achieve? And how are you going to know when you get there? Because when you set yourself something clear, give it to Allah, and you get there, the level of trust that grows, that you know, subhanallah, this is what I set as my goal. I gave it to Allah and it happened. It helps to increase the tawakkul. Aim higher. You know, there is a hadith where Abu Dar reported, the messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Allah the exalted and glorious said, O my servants, even if the first amongst you and the last amongst you and the whole human race of yours and that of the jinns even all stand in one plane around you and ask me, and I confer upon every person what he asks for, it would not in any way cause any loss to me, even less than that which is caused to the ocean by dipping a needle in it. So why are we asking for something small? Remember who you're asking from. Raise your goals. Remember that you're part of the ummah. Remember the powerlessness that you felt in October and feel even till now. Aim higher. Let's rise as individuals, but let's rise together as well. Visualize the outcome. So when I for myself, when I write down my goals, I aim higher than I think is possible, because the how is not with me, how is with Allah. And I visualize the outcome that I want. Then when I'm making dua, I visualize that outcome as something that has already occurred. And I link this back to the power of writing goals. If we're making dua and we're visualizing the outcome, which I do for myself, I've chosen a particular prayer, which is either tahajjud or fajr, and I go through these du'as and I ask Allah specifically and directly for what I want, and I'm stating it and I'm visualizing it every single day, and then I'm taking the actions that I need to do, inshallah, to be able to achieve the goals that I've set. And I really encourage you to do the same. So I want to go a little bit deeper though. Just checking that I've got time, because dua is a key differentiator between the believer and the non-believer. So I want us to just think about the fact that Allah is Al-Hayy, so he's the ever-living, and Al-Qayyum, the sustainer. Allah is outside of time. He is the creator of time. He knows what we want. He knows what will happen. He knows what can be granted to us and what is possible for us. The way I kind of visualize it myself is that, like, there's a whole timeline there, and to Allah, it's all visible. So it's almost like what is going to happen has already happened. And if we are creating that reality, or we're visualizing that reality for ourselves, that is what it can be. There's a lot of work at the moment that I've been learning about that's quite interesting. And that is that people are asked to look into their superconscious. So what the superconscious is like a level of consciousness between yourself and a greater power. And when I read about this, I was like, subhanAllah, we already have this within Islam. We have istikhara, where we ask for guidance through direct connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that is so powerful. We have a prayer where we can connect directly and ask Allah for guidance, and then open ourselves up to, as we're taking action, to accept the guidance that's given in various different ways. Gratitude, we're told that, if we're grateful, Allah will increase us. But what I also say is that if we're visualizing that goal that we want, it's almost like we're remembering the future. And if we just tie that back to the fact that Allah is Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum, He's outside of time, we're creating that vision for ourselves and working towards it, but also being grateful for it. So I know when I'm giving my du'as, I thank Allah for everything that's happened in my life, everything I know, everything I don't know, and for the future, everything that I don't know and everything that's coming. Because I know that whatever He gives to me, regardless of my du'as, whichever way it goes, I know that it is the best for me. And so I'm grateful for what's happening in the future. And I also just wanted to quickly touch on the waswasa of the shaitan, because shaitan is not only here, his mission is not just to guide us to the evil, but it's to stop us from doing good. So when we hear these little voices in our head that are saying, you can't do this, you're not smart enough. What makes you think you can do it now when it didn't work before? Who do you think you are to even try this? This is the waswasa of the shaitan. He's whispering in our ears to stop us from being the full people, the full potential that we can be. And remember, as I said before, as individuals, we form the ummah. And if as individuals we don't rise to the level of our full potential, that is the ummah being impacted, not just yourself. And so shaitan would be cheering if he sees that we're turning away from the things that are possible for us, because his whispers have got into our ears. Now, when we make dua, there's one of three outcomes. So either the dua will be granted as asked, it will be granted as a later time, or we will be granted something better. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, person's supplication will be answered, so long as he doesn't pray for something that is sinful or for the breaking of family ties, and as long as he does not become impatient and say, I prayed, but it was not answered. And for me, this bit is so powerful, because I cannot tell you how many people have said to me, I wanted this, but Allah had other plans. How do you know? How do you know what Allah's plan for you was for you? Or did you give up? There's a meme, and it's like one guy's digging and he finds this little diamond and he's like so happy, and off he goes. And there's another guy and he digs to the same level and he doesn't find a diamond, so he gives up. But you see, just below the surface is an enormous diamond. How do you know that Allah had other plans for you? Why are you saying I prayed, but it was not answered, if that's what you're saying? And then you have on the other hand, you have other people saying, such and such should realize that this isn't for them. I don't know why they keep trying. They should accept the will of Allah. Who told them what Allah's will is? So this is where we look back at the three outcomes and we put our total trust and belief in what Allah has told us, not what we think, in what He has told us. So that means that despite any obstacles that we go through, whether they be small obstacles or whether they be things that are shattering to us, seems I'm stuck. Despite the time it may take, despite us not understanding how something will be able to happen. So again, when we have our goals, we aim really big. Often we stop that bit because we go, I don't know how that could happen. I don't have the skills. I don't have the intelligence. I don't have the athletic ability. I don't have. And so we stop doing it. That's not our problem. What we want to do, how, is with Allah. Because despite all of these, once we ask Allah, once we put our absolute trust and faith in Him, it is a done deal. And we know that because He's told us that. So we've set the intention. We've aligned our goals and actions to the intention. And as the Sahaba did, we constantly review our intentions to make sure that they stay true, and then we give it to Allah. We have to still take the actions, but we give it to Allah knowing that it's a done deal. So the Quran tells us, and whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him. Indeed, Allah will accomplish His purpose. Allah has already set for everything a decreed extent. So what does that mean to you? What are the things that are actually possible for you? What are the things when you said, I can't do that because set your intention. For me, it's very clear. My intention is to serve the Ummah in whatever way I can to get the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Set your goals aligned with your intention. And by this, I mean, like, as I said, you can have goals for the dunya, but let's say that your goal is to get married. Set your goal so that the marriage is something that can bring you closer to Allah. If your goal is to get a better job, set your intention that your goal is to get a better job, that you can work in the halal all of the time, in a job that allows you to practice your religion, and that, again, will get you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Set actions that are consistent with your intentions. The actions are what will get you there. I have a lot of clients, and when I say to them, not a lot, I have some clients, and when I say to them, what are you doing? They say, I made dua. And I say, that's amazing, and you should make dua. What actions are you going to do? And they look at me blankly. You're not going to get something done if you set you these high himma intentions and you set the goals high as well, and then you sit on the couch and watch Netflix. It's not going to fall on you. You need to set the actions and do the work. Set your du'as. This is so powerful. This is so powerful. I cannot tell you. And commit to make du'a consistently to support your goals. Yes, the other du'as that we make are still obviously there. That doesn't change, but we add this into it. Set a time when you make it and commit to making those du'as, visualize them, make them real, give thanks in advance for them. Everything that you know that is coming your way, because you know that you've put your trust in Allah and He will not let us down. Accept obstacles as part of the journey. Sometimes often when we look back, we think, if that hadn't have happened to me, then this wouldn't have happened to me. Obstacles are part of our learning journey. They're put in our way, and if we have that trust, that absolute faith that we know, and that we know at the time we have the sabr, something happens, and despite how we feel, despite what's in our hearts, we can say, I know that there is good in this for me, because we know that there is good in everything for the believer. And lastly, trust Allah. Trust Allah. And when I say this, I feel like, that I don't know if anyone's been on those team building activities when someone has to fall and people need to catch them. Trust Allah. He's there and He's not letting us down. We don't even have to worry about that. He is not letting us down. Because as I talked about those three things in terms of, yes, but not now, or I have something better for you. So in conclusion, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, if you were to rely upon Allah with reliance due to Him, He would provide for you as He provides for the bird. It goes out hungry in the morning and returns full. The bird goes out not knowing what it's going to eat, but it knows that it will return full at the end of the day. But the bird goes out and it works for it. So we need to also be going out, working, and then putting our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tawakkul is the harmonious blend of trust in Allah and proactive effort. It encourages believers to strive earnestly in their endeavours while placing their ultimate reliance on Allah's wisdom and decree. Now, this balanced approach fosters faith, resilience, and tranquility in the believer's life. And so, just like I started with a question, I am going to finish with a question. Maybe you don't know the answer, but I ask you, are you willing to trust Allah and find out? Why has Allah placed you right here, right now? Thank you. Jazakallah. That's all from me for this evening for the presentation.